Welcome to Driveway Garage. Keep in mind, I'm not an expert and I'm not a mechanic. I just try to save money wherever I can. That in mind, I've been working on my washing machine, replacing piece at a time. Seems like I get one piece replaced and then I find another one that's broken. But you don't know the other one's broken until you fix the first one. Let me show you what I have. Oh, of course, this is the back of the wash machine. Now this is a Samsung. It's 14 years old, but it's in really nice shape, and it worked really good until it didn't. Get this camera backed out a little bit, and I'll show you the model number. It's WF337AAWX88. This was made in 2008, so 14 years old. The first thing that happened was the water pump. Something got in there and jammed up the impeller, so I took the motor out, and it is right here. So it was a piece of metal. It looked like just like that piece of metal there on the right. Couldn't figure out where it came from. Long story short, I found out there's a spider gear in the back of here. Inside there, it supports the tub. It's like 3 arms that go out, and it's got a shaft. And I think this is part of the shaft here. Anyway, they start just falling apart. And that's what all that crap is. I ended up finding it underneath in the drain, and the rubber just laying there ready to go back into the impeller. So I replaced that, and it worked. But it was bouncing a lot, and I noticed this rubber gasket was broken along this edge over here. So I replaced that, and then it was still bouncing a lot. Then I found out these shocks were shot. They just weren't doing anything. Well, there's 4 of them. I didn't know that at the time. And it still was bouncing a lot, and I was going to replace the front 2 shocks, thinking that would fix it. But I remember seeing in video something about spider gear, so I researched it. And they go bad, and that is the result. You get these pieces of metal. So all these things were laying down in the rubber drain, ready to fall into the impeller if they could make it there. And it's just part of that spider gear falling apart, and it messes everything up. So I decided, since I've replaced all this other stuff, I'm going to replace the spider gear. So the first thing you need to do, or one of the things, is take the back panel off. There's a screw that goes in here and a screw that goes in here, and there's your back panel. The top has notches that are flanges, something that goes up inside a slot, and then the bottom goes down. So when you take the screws out, you just lift it up a little bit. The 2 long ones go in these holes, and then the 2 bottom ones sit in these 2 holes. So you just lift it up a little bit, it'll pull out of there, and it's gone. You need to take the top off. Now, this is the top laying there. Goes on here. There's a screw that goes in the back over here and over there. And when you put it on and take it off, it just slips underneath this lip right here. So when you go to take it off, pull it back 1/4 of an inch and it'll come off. Now, something else you're going to have to do if you're trying to do this is these little plastic clips that hold the wiring harness. Take those off. There's a little rubber hose here that goes to this nipple here. This is easy. Just take it off with your fingers and then twist this a little bit and pull it out. You know, you don't want to break it, because then you'll be replacing this. Same thing with this rubber hose. It goes to the detergent and bleach and everything. This is a real easy spring. Just squeeze it, pull it off, twist this a little bit, get that hose off of there. Now I think the next thing I've got to do is take the controls off. If I remember right, I watched a video on this. I'm trying to go from memory. And it looks like there's 4 Phillips screws into this plastic housing. So I'm going to take those out, and then I think this front will come off. And if I don't want to undo all this wiring harness, I think it's just going to set on the top here, unless I see some way to unplug it easily. So let me do that. Just to make things faster, I'm using my cordless drill with a Phillips screwdriver attachment. I also have my socket set out here, so I'll be using sockets on my drill whenever I can. If that doesn't work, I'll do it the old-fashioned way. I also have some nut drivers for places that are kind of hard to reach or whatever. This comes in handy for taking the hose off of, this back clamp back here is really tight, but I think in this instance I don't have to do that. There's a Phillips screw goes onto this rubber housing, and I think I can just loosen that, drop it down, and I don't have to take this back out again. Let's get with it. I'm going to remove this dispenser also. So you pull it out as far as you can. There's a little tab right here. You push on that, and that releases this, and that'll come out of there. I bought some of these magnetic trays a little while back. They're really handy for keeping screws and stuff in, because then they're not, I used to just put them wherever. This way they're a lot easier to keep track of. And if you're working on something that's metal, you can keep it right beside you. So I got the front off. Once you get the 4 screws out of the top, you can see all these little flanges that stick out. They line up with these holes here. So you just kind of pull it up, out at the top a little bit, and then it'll slip off of there. Just be careful. Don't manhandle it too much. You don't want to snap those things off. And now that I have that off, there's 4 screws here I'm going to take out. And then I think there may be something else, but I'm not sure if I need to take the door off. I'm hoping not. I'm hoping take out those 4 screws, and then this front will come off. Let's find out. I just remembered this rubber gasket is connected to the plastic on the inside, which would be this part, and it's also connected on this part. Now there's a wire that goes around here, and there's a spring right here, which gives it the tension to hold it on. And it's pretty easy to get on and off. This back one was a lot harder. And it'd be nice if I didn't have to take that off of there, but pretty sure I will. So let me go get a little pick, and then I can get in here and pull that wire out of there. See if you can see it. It's right in there in that crack. You can just barely see it. Really thin wire. And that's what holds this gasket on. So I've got to get that off. And the easiest place to take it off is right here where it's got the spring. It's down inside of here. I can get my pick on there and pull it off. And I think I have to do it on the other side too, which is a real pain because you have to use a lot of soapy water to get these rubber gaskets on. Otherwise, they're just really tough. So I'm going to have to use my Phillips screwdriver. The other one, let's see if I can get this out of the way. Right there you can see, if I can get my hand in here someplace. There, that screw right there, you loosen that screw up, and that's how the other wire comes off that holds the inside gasket on. And that is a son of a gun getting on and off, but can be done. Now that I'm looking at this, I can see I'm going to have to probably, if you guys can get a look at it, that hose right there is going to have to come off too, I'm sure. Now in the one video I watched, he had a screw holding this on, but I think this one just sits on there. Maybe I don't have to move it, because eventually you've got to take this spring out and one on the other side, and you've got to release the 4 hydraulics down below from the tub itself, and then you just leave them in place. But so I need to go get my pick, and I'll get these wires off here and show you how that works. So I got it started. You can see the spring there, got my pick in behind it. Basically you just pull it out and start working the wire off the gasket going around and get that off of there. If you use the pick and hook it in behind the wire, it just peels that wire right out of there. That's what the wire looks like. When you put it back in, you want to put the spring at about 8 o'clock. If it was a clock, you want to put it in there about like that. So here's 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock. That's supposed to be the right way to put that spring in. Now we got to get the other spring out. And to do that, you need to get down there with the Phillips screwdriver, loosen that screw up, and then you can pull the gasket out completely. Just to give myself some room, I put the control panel back on, just dropped it in the groove so it's out of my way from up above. So I was able to get my cordless drill in there, and I just backed that screw off. And now that wire will come off of there. Let's see. Now this does go up over a lip, so it's a bit of a struggle to get it off of there. That's why you have to use a lot of soapy water when you put it on. I think this is going to be a two-handed job. Those things aren't cheap, so I don't want to tear it. So let me see what it's going to take to get that off of there. Well, I just used 2 hands and grabbed it and peeled it back. There's a little lip right here it goes over, so that's why you need the soapy water, so you can get it into the groove and on top of that lip. Once you do that, it just pulls off pretty easy. Like I said, you don't want to tear these because they're not cheap. And it's brand new. Yeah, highlight. If you have any problems or questions, call. Yeah. Can you come rebuild my washing machine, please? Okay, so I got that off. I need to get the other one off and get it out of the way. Rubber gasket peeled out of there pretty easily. And we'll get that, set it over here out of the way. Try to keep it somewhat organized. This is that other wire I was talking about. Sure, drop it, why not? So this was the tough one to get back in there. And then this screw just goes at the top. Once you get it where it belongs, you tighten that screw up and that'll lock it onto the tub inside. So at least now the tub is free this way. Now, we've got to get this front panel off somehow, and I think it'll come off now. And then I remember you got to take these weights off of the side. Pretty much just have to detach everything that's attached to this plastic housing. And on the back, well, I'll get the front panel off, but then you got to come back here and take this nut off, take this off. You got to unhook the wires. Then you got to take all these bolts out. You get that out of there. You got to take out the top bolt on the hydraulics. There's 4 of them. And then I think one person can do it. It'd probably be nice to have 2. Oh, you got to release. You got to get rid of this clamp. You got to take these springs off the tub. And I think the way you do that, you just lift these up and get them loose. And then pivot that. It'll come off the tub. Then hang them back in position just so you can keep track of them. And there is some grease on it, so be careful of that. I should probably go put on some work pants before I get in trouble from my wife. Get grease on these or whatever. But same thing on this side. Now this is where the guy had to get this out of the way. Oh, that might come out of the way all right. Looks like it just has a screw holding it there. Maybe then it'll pivot out of the way. Screw right there. Anyway, just so you can lift the spring up and get it separated. So let's go back to the front, see if we can get the front cover off. I'm hoping I'll lift this bucket back out of there, and without the gasket, that should just come right off. Let's find out. There's a little clip right here. There's a tab sticking up. It goes inside of here. I just put my pick in behind here and twisted it, and it popped right off of there. Now I think the door, the door, oh, we got another electrical connector over here. Goes into the door. So let me figure out how to get that off of there. Maybe this will go up. There, we'll find out. Oh, looking from the top, I can see there's a screw here and a screw over there that goes up from the bottom. So I'm going to pull that drawer out of there on the pedestal, take those screws out, and I think it'll come off of there. Okay, the door's off. Now this little cover just snaps right off of there, and then you've got 3 wiring harnesses. The white one, on my case, you just push this tab, it pulled off. This one is black, same thing, tab. It's opposite direction though. One was facing one way, one was facing the other one. And this one's got 2 tabs on it, so it's a little harder to get off, but it just pulls right off. And then I think, whatever this is gonna have to come off there too. It's connected up the top, and those are just twisty ties, I think, if I remember right. So get those off of there, and then that'll go out of the way. Take this clamp off here. So these are easy. You just squeeze, wiggle it back and forth till you get it past the nipple sticking out. Kind of give these a little bit of a twist. They come off easier. Now this one, if I could do it, I'd take these 2 screws out, just take it out. Not sure if that's possible. I just hate twisting on plastic too much because you never know when you're going to snap it off. Anyway, I've got to get that out of there, so let's do that. Now I got that hose off of there. Like I said, these things are just twisty ties, like a loaf of bread kind of thing. And then this hose will go up out of the way. And I suppose probably taking it inside someplace is going to be the easiest place to put it. At least it'll be out of the way. Then I'm going to get, I think it's a 12mm, but I'll double check, and take these weights off the side. These things are so light. I've heard of companies that put concrete in the bottom because they're so light that they just bounce around. So I put these weights on there to kind of give us some stability. Let's see what size those are. So those are 13mm. I'm just going to use my, it's kind of like a lightweight impact. It takes out a lot of stuff, a lot of bolts. Anyway, I won't bore you with all the noise, but that's what you got to do to take those 4 bolts out. If you don't have an impact, just use the socket. It'll work. Well, once you get the bolts out, these should just come right off of there. Yeah. Wow, those are kind of heavy. They're like 10 pounds each. There's a couple plastic tabs sticking out there that go in these holes. That's what holds it in place, which is kind of nice. You don't have to hold it in place while you put the bolts in. So put one of those there. And these are the bolts that came out, about 3 inches long. The reason my drill was struggling is right after I shut the camera off, the battery died. I say, it should come out of there a little easier than that, and then clunk, the battery died, so they're not so bad. Let me get this other side off. So there's another hose here. I thought this hose here was the one that dispensed everything, but that must just dispense part of it, maybe fabric softener. Yeah, this is the one that does your soap. So you can either take it off of here, take it off of here, but you're gonna have to take it off the drum eventually, so why not just do it now? But a guy could take both of them off just to get it out of the way. Again, you just squeeze it. And this one's gonna be tougher, I can tell by looking at it, so you're gonna have to have a pair of pliers. This one, that'll squeeze by hand. This one is full of water. So whichever side you take off, have a little bucket. It's not much. It's not even a 1/4 of an inch in the bottom of that bucket, but this whole thing was full of water, so take that into account when you take it off. So now we're going to proceed to the back. In order to do this, you've got to take off this wiring harness and this wiring harness. And it looks like take these screws out of here would probably be the easiest. I think that's a temperature sensor or water level sensor, I don't know. This little clip has to come off. You just twist it. That holds this connector in place. There. So we'll take this off, I think, just to be on the safe side. Figure out how these clips work. It looks like there's two little prongs on the side. On that one. This one I'm not sure. I'm going to have to figure that out. We'll get that out of the way and then take this screw out. Looks like there's supposed to be another screw. Looks like maybe somebody's been in here before and lost the screw. Or at the factory they just decided not to put it in, but then that will get this wiring harness off of the tub. After that, we're going to take this bolt off, or nut off. This will come off easy, if I remember right. And then you take all these, looks like about 10 or 11 millimeters off. Let's get that out of there. So let's get the wiring harness off. Change of plans. I'm going to take this off first, then I can look at those connectors better. Let's see what size that is. It's 19 millimeters. I tried the cordless drill. And I have a regular, it's got a 1/2-inch drive on it, cordless breaker, or what do you call them? Breaker, not a breaker bar, but anyway, impact wrench. It's not as powerful as like a Milwaukee or something, but it helps. I'm not going to bother getting it. I'm just going to grab a 19 millimeter wrench and break that loose. So I got it off. It's one of those locking nuts with the plastic inside of it. Also has a lock washer and a bigger washer that go on there, so don't forget those. Now, if I remember right, a guy should just be able to grab this and pull it off of there. Let's see. Well, I got it off. I forgot. It's not just held on by a bolt. It's held on by magnets. I was wiggling it, it'd go just a little bit. Then I remembered, oh yeah, because I got it part way off and it sucked it back on. I was like, this is magnets. So you just got to grab it and pull on that sucker and it'll come off of there. But all these magnets going around the outside are holding it, so you know how magnets are. The more the merrier. So now I can get a better look at this wiring harness. Actually, yeah, I think I want to get those wiring harnesses off there because I think when I unbolt this magneto or whatever they call it, it's going to be connected to those harnesses, and I don't want that thing just dangling there. So I went ahead and took this screw out. It's holding this on, and there's a ground wire. I took that screw off. Now I got a little slack here. I just got to figure out how these things are clipped on. This one, it looks like there's just two prongs on the side of it. You just got to squeeze them and get it off of there. It seems to be the culprit. And hopefully they squeeze in. This one, maybe you just push on that tab. I gotta look at it closer. Okay, so the smaller one, it's got the two tabs on the sides you squeeze in. This one's got a tab right here, but you have to push it in toward the machine, right on the end here, and then it snaps right out of there. So once you figure it out, it's not bad. It's just figuring it out. Now let's take those screws out of there and get that sensor out of there. Now, before I did this, it stopped halfway through a cycle. The wash machine was full of water, you know, several inches. I have a little shop vac, and I use it for a wet dry vac. Oh, here it is. It's not very big. It's got a lot of power, and that end, this fit right in there. So I put this in there, and I just sucked all the water out of the machine because that is connected to the pump. So it got everything out of there. So I didn't have to worry about water spilling all over the place. Okay, once you get the screws out, it's held in there with the rubber gasket. Just give it a little tug. Grab this part here, don't pull on the wires. Might pull them out. And then that's out. Now, 1, 2, 3, 4, 6 of these bolts. I don't suppose they're 10 millimeter. Maybe, let's try 12. Nope, maybe they are 10s. Okay, there's the 10 millimeters. Let's get those out of there and then this will come off. Two things to keep in mind. That little thing with the copper on it is heavy. So I took the bolts out. I kind of did it like lug nuts. I went to left one, right one, top one, bottom one, and I left this one till last. And then I got my hand on it, took the last one out. And that thing is really heavy, so be careful. You don't want to drop that thing. I'm sure they're not cheap. Now what? I think this stuff all comes off when you get it out. Now, wouldn't it be nice if you could fix this from the back and not take the thing out? But I think you got to divide this tub in half, unfortunately. That'd be nice if you could fix it from back here. So my next thing will be get the hydraulics off. And those are 12 millimeters if I remember right. I'll let you know if I'm wrong. And the nut part is attached, so you don't have to worry about that. Just take the bolts out. Now I've got a little cordless drill. It's 90 degrees. It's called a Chemo. I'm going to use that in here because it fits in tight spots. I got to go grab that and bring it in. If you're working on cars like I do, just tinkering, it's really handy when in tight spots, just like this is going to be, because my regular cordless wouldn't go in there unless I put an extension and a wobbly thing, and it's just easier to use the Chemo. So those are 13 millimeters. One thing I've liked about working on this is they're pretty consistent with the size of their screws and nuts and bolts. It's not 10 different sizes, so you have to have 10 different sockets. But I got my Chemo out here, and like I said, it fit right in there. Take that right off. If it's a little stubborn, you can break it loose like a ratchet, and then you turn this little knob here to change direction, which way it spins. But I'll get those out of there front and back, and I think that tub's going to be about ready to pop out of there. Now these are the 6 bolts that came out of the armature, whatever that thing is, creates electricity. And these are the ones out of the shock absorbers. Like I said, they're 13 millimeters, about 3 inches long. And there's 4 of them, so I got to go to the front and get the others off. I think we're almost ready to remove this thing. Hopefully I can do it by myself. If not, I'll wait till my stepson comes home. I got these bolts out. Now I just have to kind of pound the shocks out of there. There's 3 wires on the bottom here, and they're not held in with clips. You just have to pull them down, pry them down. I stuck a screwdriver in there, kind of did a little prying down to get them down. The center one is a ground screw, and it was on there pretty good. So I grabbed the end of it with a pair of pliers and pulled on it, it came off. So I have to get this Phillips screw out of here. Disconnect this wiring harness. Oh yeah. Then we go to the back and finish what I started there, I guess. I think, I can't remember. Well, I was looking at it from the front, and then I remembered I have to take this off of here. Now you can get a screwdriver in here and back that clamp off of there, and I see I don't have that clamp on there very good, so it needs to be redone anyway, so I'll just go ahead and take that off of there. Once you back that screw out, that falls off. Now I think this thing is ready to come out of here. Just trying to think of an easy way to do it by myself, because I still have got the 2 springs I have to disconnect. Oh, look. Another tube I need to take off. Am I missing anything else? I think that's going to be it. I guess I'll leave it on the hydraulics for now. If I have to, I can put a tie-down strap around it to support it while I take the shocks out of it. Once you do that, it's supposed to just pull right out of the front of here. Then you have to separate the halves and then get the back off of it. So let me get those springs off of there. That other rubber, I guess that's a vent is what that is. It goes to right here. All right, I think I'll just disconnect it right here from the tub. Well, I couldn't get in there with my big drill, so I used the Chemo. Put a 1/4 inch, I put a 3/8 1/4 inch adapter, then a 1/4 inch socket, and my Phillips screwdriver. And I got it loose. Now it should just pop off of there, I'm assuming. Maybe it has to be looser. This seems pretty loose. It's probably just on there from friction, so let me get that off of there. I'm thinking about shoving a couple 2x4s from the front to the back. Let them rest on the frame here to support that tub once I get the shocks out, the springs off. I think one wouldn't work too well because of the drain sticking down, but one on both sides should support it. And then maybe I can just walk it right out of there on those 2x4s. So let me go see what I have. Even some metal pipes would work. Anything to support it. Well, I found a couple 2x4s just about the right length. I got those under there front to back. Now I'll pop those shocks out of there. They're kind of stuck. They should come out fairly easily. Now, I've replaced the two back ones. If these two front ones are bad, I'm going to go ahead and order those and get those in here while I have it apart. Once I get the shocks out, it's just going to be hanging by the springs. And then hopefully I can pick it up and get the springs out of there. Well, that last shock I took out was kind of stuck in there, this one. So I took a screwdriver, got up in there and pried it out. Now it's just hanging there by the springs, so I should be able to lift up on the tub, unhook the springs, and then it set back down on those 2x4s. We should be good. I went ahead and took the soap dispenser out. There was a screw holding it in the front, and then there's some tabs on this tab on the side that slides into this groove. I just took a screwdriver and pried it out. Now that's out of the way, I can reach the spring. And on the other one, I got it loose. You just have to pull it up, but there's a little tight spot right here. You have to get it past. It's almost like a clip. Once you get it past there, you kind of bend it a little bit, pull it out, unhook it from the tub. I ended up taking this vent or drain off the top. It's just kind of pressed into that hole right there. That gives me some clearance. The 2x4s help a lot because they keep it from dragging on the bottom, and I've got it halfway out. Just a little more effort. I'll have it out, and then we'll see what we're looking at. Well, it's out of there. It definitely is easier with two guys. I'm definitely going to have my stepson help me when I put it back in. The 2x4s kind of help, but they also kind of get in the way because it's a tight fit. But this way it's not dragging on the bottom and breaking anything off, because that would not be good. That would be unproductive. This is the bottom of it. And you just have to clear this. And on the top, you have to clear this. I wonder if that's like a hook they use to set these in from the top in the assembly line and then put it all together. But I didn't want to take... You could do that. You'd have to take this bracket off, and you'd have to take, let's see, the front of it. You'd have to take this bracket off and this off, and that'd give you a little more room, I guess, and maybe I'll do that to put it in. But those are what give it the support. So we'll see. Anyway, it's out. Now, I see I got a Phillips screw here. And then a whole bunch of, are they 10s? They kind of look like 10s. Let's find out. No. Oh, I don't think that's my 10. That's my 13. Here's my 10. Yep. So I'm going to take all those bolts out and that screw, see what we have. I took a picture of the orientation. This is the bottom. So this goes between 4 and 5 o'clock. Just want to make sure I get that back on where it belongs. So it's nice you can take a picture while you're recording. So I'll get those screws out of there. I've got a couple out. They're about 2 inches long. They're just going into plastic, so keep that in mind. There's 20 bolts holding that thing on there. So if you have a drill or a cordless screwdriver, I highly recommend it, because that'd take quite a while to do that by hand. Don't forget your last Phillips screw there, and it all comes off. Now this should lift off of there. And I just have to remember what's next from the video. Maybe I have to separate the two halves to pull that out of there. I just do not remember, but I'm guessing. This is going to be interesting. Putting it all back together. But yeah, I think I'm going to lay it on some, let's see. Maybe I'll flip it over, lay it on some 4x4s to keep this up off the ground. You could use bricks or whatever. And then I'll see what's holding these two halves together. And I think there's a gasket in there. I'm hoping it's good because I didn't order it. And I don't think it comes with it. Let's get this flipped over. Well, I just set it on top of a 5-gallon bucket for now. It's a little higher off the ground, easier to work on. And I heard something clunk around inside, so it's probably more pieces of the metal from that spider gear. Dang, this thing's heavy. It winded me. And I'm out of shape anyway, but I could hear something clunking around, so I'm sure there's more of that spider gear in there. Let's see. I'm going to get these bolts out. Looks like there's about a dozen of those, maybe, give or take. And they look like 10 millimeters. Let's see. Where's my 10 millimeter? One thing nice about this thing is pretty consistent with their nuts and bolts and screws. You don't have 20 different sizes. Seems like almost all the screws are the same size. Just a matter of keeping count of them. I see some of them have lock washers on them. And pretty consistent with the 10 millimeter. Anyway, let me get those out of there. See what else I need to do. So I went ahead and grabbed an extension and a wobbly attachment so I could get away from the bottom there. Got all the screws out. And then I took one of my wrenches. I put it right in here and pried a little bit and popped that seal loose. So it's loose now, so that should just come right on out of there. I think. We'll find out in a second. Well, I'm not positive, but I'm guessing that's the heating element. So it can heat the water in the bottom of the tub, because let's see. I'm guessing that's the bottom of the tub. So evidently it heats the water so you can have hot water when it's washing. It's kind of cool. So there's that. Now I have to try to remember how that tub comes off of there. I don't remember at the moment, but you see the triangle part, that's what they call the spider gear. It's in behind there. So I'm going to have to flip this back over again, I guess, and figure out how to get that bottom off, unless it just pops off. It's got to be a way. Got to get to that spider gear on the back. Well, I just lifted up on it, it came off. I hope I don't. That's part of the rubber gasket from the front that broke. It's down in the tub. I'm going to clean this really good, of course. There's another piece of the spider gear that would have worked its way to the impeller. Yeah, that thing, I guess it's cast iron. I don't know, but it's just falling apart. They should have made it out of something else. Maybe it's aluminum, I don't know, but it's just degrading. Look at that. So there's 2 bolts holding each wing on. I'll get those out of there. And I'm not sure about this seal and stuff. Boy, I hope I have everything coming. Yeah, I think this is all one piece when it comes, so I don't have to worry about that, but I'm really gonna have to clean the heck out of this thing. It's 14 years old, so I can't complain. It was here when we bought the house 6 years ago. It's washed a lot of clothes. I'll pressure wash it, clean it really good before the new part comes, then put it all back together. Between the new pump and the new gasket and 2 new hydraulics and the new spider gear, maybe this will last another 14 years. I hope. So this is the, let's see, this is the front, and these are the hydraulics I did not replace. And those, ouch. Yeah, I think those are shot too. They go down, but they don't go back up. Are those I guess they're just supposed to cushion it a little bit, which they do. Maybe I'll just leave them alone. When everything's put back together the way it's supposed to be. Ouch! And I just banged my head on this sharp edge right here. Evidently it's bleeding. I could feel it dripping down my forehead. Oh well, be careful guys. Anyway, I'm going to clean it all up really good. I'll vacuum the junk out of there that fell in. Get this off of here. And I think it's pretty self-explanatory when you get the new parts in. The new one's just going to bolt onto there. And then you set that down into here. Now this is where maybe I should have got a new seal. I don't know. Oh yeah, that's right. I remember there's this little springy washer there, but I'm going to clean all this up. Get all this junk out of here, over there. Make sure it's nice and clean. Ready to be put back together. Thanks for watching, guys. I guess the process is just going to be reverse of this to put it back together. I don't think I'm going to record it. Watch the video backwards. Just kidding. Thanks for watching. If I do decide to record it, I'll post it as part 2. I've got a couple days to work on this, cleaning it up, and then my new part should be here Friday. It's now Wednesday. I get this back together and test it. I already spent $1,000 on a new Maytag that's supposed to be super nice and last forever. I got tired of putting parts in this, and then I decided, well, I'm going to have to fix it to sell it or junk it and waste the money I put into it. So once I get it all back together, I'll hook it up outside to a hose. I've got an extra set of washer lines. I'll hook it up to the cold. If I remember right, I did this before. If you don't plug this one off, the water will go in here and come out here. So I took a spray nozzle. It's the same size as the garden hose. Screwed it on there, capped that off. I hooked my hose up to here and I ran it through a cycle on my other wash machine I fixed. And made sure it worked, pumped, everything like that. So I'll do that again just to make sure it works before I sell it. Hopefully I can at least get my money back. It is a used wash machine, but it's going to be like new, I guess, when I get done with it. Feel free to like, share, and subscribe. If you'd subscribe, I'd appreciate it. I'm always working on cars and other things that come up. I'm a handyman by trade, so rather than pay somebody hundreds of dollars or thousands of dollars, I try to do it myself. As Eric from South Main Auto says, if I can do it, you can do it.